where the Chicago Bears offense ranks after week 3 should actually surprise some people, as it's not nearly as bad as what it's felt like at times. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, we're going to talk about a change to the lineup that Ben Johnson could be ready to make sooner rather than later. We're going to talk about all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And the Chicago Bears, things feel different around the Chicago Bears after week 3, but they still got a lot to prove before me personally, I feel safe in just relying on that. But there are some signs that the Chicago Bears are really starting to turn some things around. Namely, the players only meeting, I think, has been a turning point for the Chicago Bears. Now, players only meetings are looked at in various different ways, depending on how you choose to look at it. So especially early in the season, having it early in the season kind of is a little bit sign of some crisis around the team. But I think it also shows a sense of urgency from the players to get this shit together, right? And Caleb Williams talked a little bit about that player-only meeting where he said this. I think just being able to communicate with everybody, be on the same page, and figure out how we want this to go. I've always said the best teams are player-led, and that's what we are. Like I said before also, during the summer, I believe that Ben has set the standard for us, and we have to execute that standard. Like I said, those are great words from Caleb Williams, right? And, he's talking about the players-only meeting that was led by Grady, Jarrett, Jaquan, Brisker, two of the players that really kind of stood up and took the bull by the horns and led that meeting to get everything kind of riled in for this Bears team, right? And I'll say this, while I know that players-only meetings can look, it can be a sign of disaster for a team, especially happening this early in the season, I think that it was needed, right? The Bears have their bye week in week 5, and we've talked so much about you didn't want to go into that bye week 1 and 3. Now the Bears still can go into that bye week 1 and 3, but you want, when you start feeling things, and I think a sign of good leadership is that when you start feeling things going a little left, you corral that in very early. You don't allow it to go left for too long, right? That's when it can get too far ahead of you too soon if you allow it to get too bad, right? So hearing that Grady, Jarrett, Jaquan, Brisker took that and really got this thing together, and the results were there after that players only meeting. Now we got to see how we're going to continue to build off of it, and we'll see how it happens. Now, as far as one of the signs to come out of that, we're going to talk about where the Bears have ranked after week 3. And here's the thing: Caleb Williams right now is on pace to shatter just about every Bears passing record. Now, we've talked about it before. The Bears passing records aren't all that great, right? But when you look at it and how things stand right now, Caleb Williams right now, 715 passing yards, that has him at number 11. He's tied for second for the most touchdowns we've talked about before. His QBR is tied for 9th in the league. His passer rating is 6th in the NFL, right? So Caleb Williams, throughout all the things, the overthrows, those type of things, the miscues on offense, Caleb Williams is having a top 10 in just about every category except for yards, but where he's 11th, that right outside that top 10. And that's really good for Caleb Williams, right? That's really good to be in a place like this and continue to build off of that. We got a lot that we need to do, and we'll see what comes with that. But Ben Johnson talked about those numbers as well. He says this: when the offensive line protects like that, it's a lot easier to play in the pocket. I thought 0 sacks. We had a very clean pocket for the most part. The starting point, he's got the ability to escape and extend all of that. But man, if we can keep him in there, our playmakers are some dynamic route runners that we can get the ball to them in space. I think he saw when he plays on time, he's trusting the hitches within his drops, and we can be an explosive offense that way. So there's a lot of ways that Caleb Williams can hurt you. And like I said, when we have pass protection like that we had yesterday, that certainly helps. Now, that goes to what I talked about a little bit with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, right? How Ben Johnson wants this technically perfectly sound offense. But when it comes to Caleb Williams, you have to allow him space to be the creative person that he is. So we talked about like when we're able to keep him in the pocket, right? But he also acknowledged that, listen, Caleb Williams can break out and can do some things on the run. And I think that's a really good assessment and awareness from your head coach on the strengths of your quarterback, right? And so listen, if Caleb has that clean pocket, it's all on him at that point in time. And so allowing for 0 sacks is really good. Caleb Williams is on his way to do some really good things right now. Right now, Caleb Williams is on pace to throw for 4,052 yards. That'll be the first time in QB franchise history to ever do that. And he's on pace for 40 touchdown passes, which is also a franchise record, right? He's on pace to throw for just 6 interceptions, which is what he did last year. And he's on pace to rush for 561 yards. That's 4,500 yards from scrimmage for Caleb Williams. Oh, no, 4,200 yards, or over 4,100 yards. I can't count today. It is what it is, right? So it's on pace for Caleb Williams to do some really good things. And so we'll see, right? We'll see what happens. Like, Caleb Williams is not the rusher that Justin Fields is, and he shouldn't have to be. The changes that you've made to this offense and why you drafted Caleb Williams is that he is a better quarterback, right? He's supposed to be a better quarterback to be able to make those throws and do things like that. And so we'll see if Caleb Williams is able to do that consistently. And so with Caleb Williams being on pace to do that, on pace is great, right? You wanted to be on pace. And we know that there's been a lot left on the board for Caleb Williams and for this Bears offense so far this season. If this Bears offense finds its rhythm in the run game at any point this season, it's going to open up the door to a lot more, not only for Caleb Williams in the passing game, but also just this offense to be much more. Like, all the pace to break passing records and stuff is great, but you know what we want more than just breaking passing records? We want some damn wins, right? I think that's what Bears fans want more than anything. So hearing that the season hasn't been as bad as what it felt early on as far as from a productivity standpoint, but the Bears got to start stacking some wins, right? And that is the most important thing. I said this multiple times. At some point, it just gets to, are you winning football games or not? That becomes the most important thing for your team. That becomes the most important stat there. And so hopefully the Bears can find their way to start winning some football games more consistently, and we start making our improvements as a team overall. So we'll see where that's going to go. Also, Ben Johnson, he's talked about, how Caleb Williams has been much better job in the huddle, those type of things, saying this. He's doing a much better job at getting us in and out of the huddle. I thought we weren't as pressed on the play clock as maybe what we've been in the first 2 games. We still have some room for improvement just in terms of our alignments and all being on the same page. I think there are a few plays we want back, just an entire unit that we didn't get off as clean as we wanted from a procedure standpoint. But I do see growth there. And that's what this is, right? The execution is the thing that the Bears have to be masters on. And that's the thing that Ben Johnson is going to drill for this team to be able to get consistently. Can you have the execution things down? And that's the question that's left here for Ben Johnson. That's the question that's left here for this offense to continue to show. And not just the offense, the defense overall, right? So far, the Bears have had 2 solid games defensively, even with almost allowing 400 yards against the Dallas Cowboys. Like, the bend but don't break mentality, the fact you didn't allow any second half points, all those type of things were really solid from the defense. The first game of the season, the Bears had a really good performance defensively. The offense just didn't perform, right? So you're now seeing how important it is for your offense and your defense to be in rhythm and in synergy. Because if your offense is keeping your defense from having to be on the field all the time, that is something that keeps them fresh, right? That's what allowed them to have those second half legs. That drive in the third quarter, Caleb Williams talked about how exhausting that 19-play drive was for them, but it helped your defense as the game went on not to allow the Dallas Cowboys offense to get back into the game. So those are the things that you're going to have to continue to show, and we'll see how the Bears develop with that over time and over the rest of the season. Now, I said that we were going to talk a little bit about where the Bears rank statistically as a team, as an offense so far this season. And when you look at it, the Bears offense actually is ranking pretty damn well. Points per game, the Bears are averaging 23.3 points per game. That has them as 9th in the NFL. The passing offense is averaging 233 yards per game. That has them 11th in the NFL. Rushing offense, 113 yards per game, has them at 15th in the NFL. And we all know the Bears rushing offense has a lot that it can continue to show and develop on. So that's going to be something that we have to grow through as well. And the Bears offense so far, averaging 347 total yards per game. That has them 10th in the NFL. We're 4th and 3rd down conversion rate at 46, a little over 46%. We're 3rd in red zone scoring at over 85%. We're 5th in sacks allowed, and that's the good part, right? Least sacks allowed at 6. And we have only had 3 turnovers on offense so far this season, which has us tied for 12th in the NFL. What does that tell you? The Bears are in the top half of every statistical category offensively in the league so far, and they're in the top 10 in most categories. The only ones that are not in top 10 about is the rushing offense, which we already know, and turnovers. Other than that, the Bears are in the top 10 of every category through week 3. Now, this is very early on in the season, and there are teams that are still finding their rhythm. There are teams that still have injuries, but the Bears are one of those teams too. The Bears are still finding their rhythm. They're still finding their path under this Ben Johnson offense and finding the way that they need to execute. Caleb Williams only has had one game where he's looked in rhythm the entirety of the game so far in these 3 games so far this season. So the Bears offense sits in a pretty damn good place, and I love that they are growing in those areas. We just got to continue to get it. Now, the defensive rankings leave a little bit more to be desired. When you look at the defense, the Bears are 28th in points allowed, allowing 31 points per game. We're 27th in passing defense, allowing 247 yards per game, 26th in rushing defense with 139 yards per game. Total defense, we're allowing 387 yards per game. That has us at 29th in the NFL. We are second in third down conversions, only allowing 30% third down conversions on the season. Red zone defense is 22nd at 64%. And we have 5 sacks, that's good for 25th in the league, and 5 takeaways, which is 4th in the NFL. So while the offense ranks in the top half of the league and everything, the Bears defense ranks towards the bottom in everything but takeaways. So, you know, the defense has a lot of room to grow, but this is why stats aren't the end all be all, right? You have to pair that with the eye test. You know, so the offense and defense still has their things that they need to work on. Absolutely, right? And so 3 weeks into the season, we'll reevaluate this going into the bye week in week 5, and you know what's trended better for the Bears after the first 2 losses, things like that. So, you know, that bye week was going to be a week where I'm going to get heavy into the analytics bag. So if you guys like that type of content, stay in tune with us there throughout the bye week. But overall, the Bears they've had their pluses, they've had their minuses, but things aren't nearly as dire as what it felt like early on in the season. And for the Bears fans that have said things like, hey, it's still early, let's calm down. And I was one of those voices. Like, I'm going to say what's going wrong, absolutely, but like, it's still very early into the season. And, you know, when you look at some of the performances, like Tyreek Stevenson has been trash for the majority of this year, had 1 good game. Darnell Wright has a lot of room for improvement. It looks like a regression there, right? And so you got that area that you can grow through as well. So we got things that we definitely can improve on. We got things that we need to work on as a team, absolutely. And Ben Johnson is going to do some of those things for sure, man. I think that as we keep going through this, it's going to be a sign of how well the front office, the coaching staff really has their finger on the pulse of this team, because I do expect changes coming out of that bye week. And one of those changes could be Braxton Jones, right? There has now been some talk that came out that Braxton Jones may have been benched in the game against Dallas. And so that's one of the things that we have. Ben Johnson did say this. We're very, very encouraged with the direction that we're going. There's still some work to be done. I lumped the whole offensive line together. When I look at it, our rushing statistics, I think we've only averaged about 3 yards per rush. We left a lot of meat on the bone there. I give a lot of credit to the Cowboys. That is a good front. In particular, those interior players are really good players. They have played at a high level in this league for a long time. We knew that. We knew we were going to have our hands full, yet we didn't run the ball as effectively as we're capable of doing. I think it starts there. Now, when you look at Theo Benedict, when he was in there, he had some really good things. His pad level was really good. All that type of stuff was really good. And Theo Benedict is somebody that, regardless of what tackle position that it is, I think it's only a matter of time before Theo Benedict gets himself involved in there. And whether it's right tackle, whether it's left tackle, whatever it is, I think that is going to be there. And for what it's worth as well, Ben Johnson is watching the progress of Theo Benedict as well and seeing what he can bring. But for Braxton Jones, getting bitched in a game this early into the year, I wish I could say I'm surprised by it, right? But Dan Rouchard talked a little bit about that himself, where he did say that he didn't spell out a plan when he spoke Thursday, as much as he confirmed what a source said. As it turns out, Jones held up and Benedict was needed as right tackle when Darnell Wright missed some time with the right injury that Ben Johnson said should not be serious. Jones played all 57 offensive snaps. It happened to be what it is. I was feeling pretty good for the most part. Early, it was functional and done well enough that we can have success, Dan Rouchard said. I thought at the end of both games, there was a diminish in his play. It's something we're thinking about, trying to keep him as fresh as we can to play like he starts the game and finish that way. So it seems like there is some concern about Braxton Jones. And, you know, we'll see what happens when it comes down to this. Now, the Chicago Tribune, Brad Biggs of that is Chicago Tribune, that did say that the coaching staff planned to bench him against Dallas if the problems continued for Braxton Jones. But it seems like he performed pretty well, right? And so even though he wasn't on the field some, it was more so because of, more Darnell Wright than anything else of him not being on the field. So as the plan right now is to monitor Braxton Jones closely and to use Theo Benedict to relieve him for series when he needs to. That's the plan right now. But I think if you're already having that plan lined up for you, that shows that there is a chance of a benching happening here at some point in time. Now, I say this, Braxton Jones to me performed solidly at times this season, right? I think that when you look at Braxton Jones' performance against the Cowboys, there are definitely some problems in that when it comes down to it, but we shall see what happens there. I'm not ready to count out Braxton Jones completely. You guys know I'm not a big Braxton Jones guy. I came into this one after the season saying, at the start of the season, expecting Braxton Jones to probably not be the starter. He bucked that trend for me. He ended up winning the starting position. Ozzie Trapillo just did not look ready, but you got to monitor this as the season goes on, because if Braxton continues to be that thing where, especially if you're getting on long drives, whatever it is, if you need to keep him fresh, because you find that his performance breaks down at times, then that's a thing. But Braxton Jones had an anchor against the Dallas Cowboys. He had some things, but just the fact that the Bears were thinking about benching him going into the Dallas Cowboys game shows that the leash there may not be as long as initially thought for Braxton, and we just got to see what's going to come out with that and that as it goes on. But we'll see. Like, for what it's worth, he didn't give up a single pressure against Dallas. Like, Braxton Jones didn't give up a single pressure against Dallas. And when you think about the Dallas defense, even though it's not an elite defense by any stretch of the imagination, it isn't. When you look at it, 41 pass blocking snaps that he had, 0 pressures allowed, 0 sacks, 0 penalties. He had an 86.2 pass grade, the second highest in the NFL. You got to start putting some respect on Braxton Jones' name, right? So, we'll see what happens there. I do think that Braxton has shown some improvement, and I think the improvement all came together in week 3. Now, is it going to be consistent? That's always been the question for Braxton Jones. It comes down to consistency for that young man, because we've seen glimpses of it before. I don't think he's been bull rushed as much as what we've seen in prior years either, so that's a good thing when you have down to it. But, the Bears, the level of performance that needs to be the standard there is what they have to hold it to. And Dan Rouchar apparently is going to do that when it comes to Braxton Jones. So, we'll see what happens with that one. But at the end of the day, like the Bears, like you can't allow, and I think this for Bears fans, for me, for everyone, we can't allow the little bit of success that we had in week 3 make us think anything has changed for sure yet. That's just my personal opinion. It's good signs that we can definitely pull out of that game. Make no mistake about it. Amazing signs that we can pull out of it where the Bears look like they're improving for sure. But nothing is certain yet. Nothing has been proven yet. The Bears haven't done jack crap yet. So, we'll see what happens there. It's a very long season ahead, right? And you're going to have your ebbs and flows. You're going to have your ups and downs. You're going to have your good wins, your bad losses. You're going to have some bad wins and good losses, right? You're going to have some things in there in that. And how this story goes and continues to develop for the Chicago Bears over the season, that's what's going to tell us a lot. We always knew that this season was going to be a season of laying a foundation. Now, I think you can still win across doing that, right? But you have to realize that this thing is going to take time. It's not as simple as a quick fix and boom, you're there. I would love for that to be there. I would love for it to be as simple as, boom, we hired Ben Johnson. We're going to be a winning football team for the foreseeable future. You have to build. You have to grow. You have to get there. That's why even, we talked about it when drafting Caleb Williams. We were one of the few channels to be saying, hey, let's temper the expectations here. He's going to have a normal rookie season. He's going to have his ups. He's going to have his downs. Because of how the Bears had to trade Justin Fields and those type of things, it led a lot of Bears fans to put this unrealistic expectation that, it would just mean the Bears were going to be this winning team right away and Caleb was going to be perfect right away. No, it didn't mean that, right? And that's why some people had to think of get the haul back, right? All that type of stuff. But as much as I said this before, and this is going to continue to be the thing that I say, and this is the biggest storyline for me this season. This season is going to tell a lot of the success that Ryan Poles has really had with drafting, right? Luther Burden getting involved in there. Great, right? Kyle Manon guy. We'll see what he can bring. Let's get Colston Loveland's good to hear that he's probably not going to have an extended amount of time out. Let's see what he's going to look like for the Chicago Bears, right? All these things are good to hear for this team, good to see for this team. But that's the biggest thing here is how much faith do we have in Ryan Poles' drafting with how players perform? Because you've upgraded the coaching staff. You got Dan Rouchar, world renowned. You got Dennis Allen, considered one of the best defensive coordinators in football. You got Ben Johnson, one of the best offensive minds. You got Declan Doria, one of the best upcoming offensive minds, right? So you have what you think is the right coaching staff here. Now, can they develop guys? And if they can't develop them, to me, that then puts a bigger glare and eye on Ryan Poles' inability to draft. So we're going to see, right? And we're going to see how these things continue to develop. But I'll say this, So far, the coaching staff has made some of Ryan Poles' decisions look better. Tremaine Edmonds looks better. Noah Sewell looks much better, right? Like Noah Sewell's night and day difference when it comes down to it. So, we'll see as that comes. That's going to be one of the things we evaluate at the end of this season. And I can't wait to discuss it because I know Bears fans are already ready to pull the trigger on it one way or another, but we'll see how it goes. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following us at Shy Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.